All right, so welcome to your lunchtime conversation on humor and laughter and how humor, jokes can be forms of embodied power and interpersonal power, right? We're a small group today, but what to expect is this talk or presentation. There's no pressure to be humorous, funny, or to laugh. We can have a really serious demeanor throughout or not. There's no pressure to also stay the whole time. If you want to take a break, engage with your body as you need and disengage when you need to. But I really appreciate your presence here right now. What to expect? You can receive more like this is more like a talk and less reflective. So feel free to engage and receive the information as suited for you. And after about 30 minutes, we'll open up the room for any like Q&A or conversations, and we'll take it as it goes. If at any point during the interaction, there's anything that's shared by people that's personal, make sure what's shared here stays here. And we want to respect all our diversities and our diverse styles of laughing and joking. Yeah. Cool. So one other thing is that this presentation is informed by my own curiosity about humor, my own lived experience. I am the daughter of a very funny man, and the more and I'm also a therapist. So my lived and professional experience informed me why my father's need to be funny or humorous or where it comes from and how it's been a coping mechanism for like caste inequity back home in India and other life experiences. It's also informed by some amount of readings. So I can say that this talk is a little bit nerdy, a little bit personal, and a little bit of what we can do in groups and relationships with humor. I would assume that your own interest to join this group probably also comes from a shared connection to the topic, and I appreciate that. Okay, the slides we go through will sometimes be text heavy, so once again, feel free to read or not. You can also just listen in, yeah. So laughter, which is hopefully the outcome of good humor, is a whole body process, right? It's like it's equivalent to moving, exercising. It has a physiological benefit, right? It has a neurological benefit. It has a social benefit. Laughter is a social contagion, right? And it's really like nervous system regulation in many ways. And my favorite part probably is that it's social signaling, right? It informs if we laugh together, we're probably belonging. If we laugh in groups, probably we're signaling connection of some sort. My niece and nephew, I often think of them when they were both, now they're 5 and 8. When they were both about 8 or 9 months old, they went through these like weeks of just laughing, like full body laughing, right? Like falling and laughing and without logic, without reason. So that reminds me of how laughter is evolutionary, right? But now that they're growing up, 5 years and 8 years, it's less about laughing and more about, I need to be the funny guy. And I wonder if that's what evolution slash civilization did to us, where we went away from just the need to laugh together to actually be the reason for why someone is laughing or to be funny. But I wonder about that. All right. Well, if you've ever laughed, you know that there's always different ways. Not all laughter is intentional, honest, authentic. There is some required or forced or pressured laughter that we engage in from time to time. I would just encourage you to think about your own experiences here. Again, not to share, but just moments of what free laughter meant and felt like for you. It's possible it's spontaneous and like freeing and maybe your body was like falling from side to side or like front and back, you know? And forced laughter is not always negative. It could be intentional and deliberate. It's just that it didn't start in your gut, right? You're just laughing because you heard something and you cognitively find it laughable, uh, but it's not like triggering your full body response in a way. I would distinguish this from required laughter, where again the social piece comes in, where there's a social pressure to laugh at something that is either probably unfunny or even not benign, put it that way, right? And pressured laughter is often signs of some sort of social stigma in the room or like some social hierarchy. Maybe there's an asymmetrical power relation in the room, you know? I would guess that pressured laughter does something to the body. It could be a bit of a disconnecting experience, right? Yeah. Moving on. Okay. We've all been there where something's been said. There's some laughter, some free, some forced, some required, but then it gets washed away as it was just a joke, right? So in many contexts, humor, jokes are used to convey something, but also deny it at the same time, right? So there's a deniability to certain kinds of humor, probably like disparaging humor sometimes, where it's condescends another person or another group, but you're supposed to require a laughter or like be socially amenable and not really become serious in the context of it, right? So again, I want to give you a second to just think of when were those moments where you felt the pressure to laugh at something that was malignant. All right. So this talk that you chose to come to is called Humor as Interpersonal Power, right? So we'll see more in the future slides, but just want to give us a little bit of a top canopy kind of a view of if you imagine power as this intangible tool that exists between us, between bodies, between roles, humor is one probably a soft, one of the softest ways in which power moves through relationships, right? And it is informed very much by social status. There is a risk to humor. It's probably high risk, high benefit. The benefit is belonging and like social power in a way, like being liked, you know, if you're fun, there's chances you're looked at as a positive person somehow. And there's also cost of like humor can really hurt people if it is, you know, not a good joke. We'll get there. Yeah. So also the audience and where you laugh and who are you laughing with or laughing at, all of that informs how power moves through humor in relationships. Let's nerd out for a bit. We don't have to go through all of this, but it's here if there's any other humor nerds with me out here. Humor was born out of social playfulness, right? So it's like long back, we didn't have Instagrams and other ways to engage ourselves. So humans played a lot together, families, peers, groups, and humor probably likely one of the theories is that it was born out of that, right? I also believe that it's probably like an embodied need, right? It is one way you know to regulate your nervous system. It's like a internal gym, right? All the muscle tension and the release and all of that good stuff. There's different theories for humor because, you know, humans always find a way to mix everything serious. So some theories that I kind of put here are just that I think the basis of a lot of humor or like language-based humor sometimes is incongruity. It's like this something that is unexpected or breaks the rule happens and it's funny. There's also theory of relief that humor is like a de-stress regulator. There's superiority theory, which is laughing is like again, social power, like if you can make people laugh, you're somehow, like, you have social influence, right? And one theory that's going to inform a lot of this talk is the benign violation theory, right? Where it's, again, there is a violation, but it is safe enough or benign enough, and that's why it's funny. For some violation to be safe enough, sometimes there's a psychological distance that you need from the subject of the joke. And that is the theory of benign violation. Yeah. Before we talk more about it, we can also look at the right side of the slide, types of humor. Affiliative humor, used to bond. Self-enhancing humor, it's like a coping mechanism, makes us feel better about ourselves. Aggressive humor, harmful, ridicules, puts another person down. Self-defeating, also harmful, puts our own self or sense of self down. But I bet we are all guilty of using all of these in some points or other. Okay, this is just for your eyes. Humor has several functions. You can look at it, you know. I guess we can all agree with just how stand-up comedy has grown to be this huge industry, that it is a really big creative intelligence to be able to land a joke. Okay. So humor mobilizes power, right? So it's almost like, you can think of it as like the remote through which power moves in groups. As I said with the benign violation theory, it kind of, it violates, but when there's a psychological distance, or when there's like a buffer or a bolster to convey something that is otherwise a risky topic, right? The beauty is that it allows us to get to taboo topics and not just stay in the cognitive area with how social inequity exists or power inequity exists. And you can use humor to actually advocate in a way, right? But there's a new kind of, from I think humor theorists, they're also realizing that another way to look at benign violation theory is social distance, right? That is, it's not just psychological distance from a vulnerable topic or an experience, but humor also thrives with social distance, and in both positive and negative ways, right? It can reinforce a social hierarchy if you're like punching down, right? Or it can challenge social hierarchy if you are trying to use it in more inclusive ways, right? Yeah, so, but to kind of just leave us with a little theoretical lens to this, the idea is that there's a sweet spot between, okay, something seems wrong, yet simultaneously okay. That's the idea of benign violation theory, right? And for that to happen, you need a distance, whether it's psychological or social, whatever. That's the assumption, right? And as I said, it's both good and bad. So the power and social positioning in that particular context of a joke or a laughter determines, if you're violating or including in a way. Okay. Similarly, humor is sometimes understood as consent, right? If I say something and then we all laugh, maybe I'm thinking that you're all agreeing with me. And that's why I think humor is a really powerful tool, especially when we're talking about anything that's non-consensual. We know socially that behavior that is unsupportive thrives when the person who's behaving in that way believes that it's normal and everybody else agrees with it, right? So even humor and jokes that are low risk when laughed at can create and reinforce social acceptability of discrimination of some kind, right? So it reinforces stereotypes and biases, etc. Okay. And one way humor does that work of moving through relationships and moving power through relationships is kind of the impact it has. So it's like, are we identifying because of our shared laughter or joke? That's identification, right? If you're focusing, it's like it helps clarify what's important in a conversation. So, who gets a laugh and who doesn't, and what topics get a laugh and what don't, kind of teach us in a group as to, oh, this is important and this isn't, right? It enforces some things, maybe boundaries or like violation of boundaries. And it also helps us distinguish, especially if you are using humor to other, or like if the joke is on another group, humor serves the purpose of differentiating, again, positive and negative, whichever way. So humor can both bond and bind people. It can also discipline people. Okay. So this is something I just created in 2020, right? I'm going to use this as a way to explain social movement of humor. I want you to just notice, like, move from inside to outside. Imagine like these 3 concentric circles. This is informed by Gail Rubin's charm circle, which who speaks of this idea of social privilege and power, right? And that very few people hold power in the center because of unearned advantage. And the center, it could be like any identity, it could be anything, but this is just like a high level concept. But in any of our identities or roles, if we belong to a group that has an unearned advantage or privilege, we're probably experiencing social acceptance and celebrations for our way of being. And our action is we either sustain that power or we reclaim that power. So this little pink thing you see here, humor can be used if you are in the center to sustain the power you already have or to reclaim it by probably laughing at these other 2 concentric circles, right? Now, if you're in the middle circle where you're somewhat minoritized, but not so much, right? A lot of your experiences are socially tolerated and disadvantaged, but they're still tolerated. They're not accepted, but they're tolerated. And probably what humor does in that role in those groups is you could be probably using humor to seek social acceptance and visibility, right? To normalize that, hey, this is also an acceptable way of being. And if you're in the more minoritized role in one particular area of our identity, we're probably receiving social invisibilization or oppression, right? And in those cases, humor is probably being used to stay alive, to be safe, to cope with what the world is throwing at us. So humor, laughter, and many other ways of like social interactions are really used to cope and navigate power. The most interesting thing for me here are these 2 little sticks, right? And this is like punching up, punching down. Are you using humor to gatekeep these power structures? And like, imagine like, I'm going to laugh at certain kind of jokes and not just to retain what already exists. Or are you going to break the cycle or break the social norms by using humor as an ally or a rebel, or to create support spaces where you're taking care of the aftermath of disparaging humor? Okay. So just using this as a context to understand like how humor moves through social spaces. And I think that kind of informs this, which is that a joke lives on the edge. And as we said, it's violation and benign. Violation of a norm or something that you're expecting, and benign. But the truth is, as we just saw, what is benign is not the same for everybody. It's unequally distributed. So it's now coming to more like language-based humor, which is jokes. There's joke tellers and joke listeners. We are often caught up in spaces where the joke teller doesn't have the same context to what is benign as the joke listener. And that's where humor gets complicated. a lot of who the joke teller is and who the joke listener is really informed by our own diverse positioning in this world, right? Which is informed by all of this intra and interpersonal and larger universal aspects. Yeah. Moving on, this was just for representation. Moving on. Okay, so with all of this context, I believe a lot of us have heard of this term, right? I think there's like this invisible knowing of what's punching up or punching down or punching across or inward, etc. What this means is that who is the target of your joke? Who's the target of the humor? Is it someone with more social power or someone with lesser social power than yourself, right? So in a way, it's that where is the joke teller positioned in context with social power from the joke listener, right? So if you're punching up, that is, if you're in a more minoritized group and you're punching towards center where a joke is targeted at the unearned privilege, humor is being used to critique power. If it's across, like where some of us PhD students are constantly joking about our plight, and that is punching across. So it's like peer relations, it's playful. Inward involves self-disclosure, again, that like self-defeating humor or self-enhancing humor. And down is non-consensual exposure of people with lesser power than the joke teller. So once again, like I think it's important to note that punching down is like not about the content and topic, but it's really about the relational distance between the joke teller and listener. Well, a joke has a lot of things that go out to give it body and shape, right? It has direction, it has a focus point. Jokes are targeted towards a topic or people. There's hierarchy to what the joke does to you. If you're like climbing up because of a joke, social climbing, or like you're kind of coming back somewhere else, or you're staying in the same horizontal plane. Jokes have an embodied response, and they are like relational contracts, right? They can either break trust, they can repair something that was conflictual between people, or they can sometimes have an afterlife that's really hard. Yeah. I know of a lot of times I've seen as a therapist in places where the afterlife of humor is that like people like there's relational ruptures and people are having conflict for years because of a joke that didn't land well. So I think it's important for us to all kind of know more of what goes on to be a good joke. Right? A simple way, if you're trying to learn how to joke, if you're teaching someone, is I like these like 3-step approach. There's some expectations, there's a setup, and there's a mental pattern within a culture. That could be culture of Drexel or personal social cultures. And then there is an unexpected response to that structure and And then there is timing and how your joke lands, which is the punchline. And all of this stuff can happen in good ways, bad ways, right? I think one of the good ways are like positive ways in which jokes can land, where it's not hurting, is if you're building it up from shared context, using like words intellectually, intelligently in a way that is bringing up social power, you're breaking the violation through misdirection, timing, surprise, etc. One thing with jokes or good jokes are that one of my friends, I'm quoting her name is Shivangi, she's my really close friend. She always says jokes are half serious. And she asked me to tell you all that she probably picked it up from elsewhere. So we don't know the real source of this quote. So she's my source. She says jokes are half serious, which is like they're always conveying something. Even a good joke is half serious. So when we're looking at making a joke that is not that's good and like not harmless, we want to think of what is it that we're trying to convey that is serious through the joke in a way. So this is like a working formula for especially in workplaces or close relationships. If you want to think of a self-evaluation process almost, like what kind of jokes am I laughing at? What kind of jokes am I making? And what are some like 4 pointers that I can think about to uh, to reflect on that? I think one is that shared permission, right? It's that do we have that shared vulnerability that's agreeable to the joke, balancing out risk, and making sure there's repair always available because not all jokes will land. Does this space or room or relation have the ability to repair a joke that will boomerang? And breathable afterlife, I like that one. It's like, is the joke expanding the room and the relationship? Is there breathing space after it, or is it constricting? I think these are some ways we can really feel out a good joke. Okay. Again, like moving through like our relationships and how humor, laughter, jokes play a role. In our own personal relationships, children, parents, teenagers. There's a lot of intergenerational humor you may have experienced with a grandparent or like with a grandchild or anyone younger. And peers, friends, and even romantic relationships. Jokes and humor, laughter shows up in different ways. It shows up as play, teasing, repairing shame and stigma from the society through good jokes at home, belonging, and repetitiveness of jokes creates inside jokes and outside jokes. So the insider identity gives you that bonding and belonging again. Yeah, and couples specifically, and also like really close friends over time will build like a shared vocabulary and dictionary of humor, right? And it's like this mental imprint of social reality that is informed by laughter. It also jokes also have like this developmental biological, I won't say jokes, but more like playfulness and humor that have evolutionary function. An important thing to get to at this point is a lot of times in classrooms, schools, or universities or other workplaces, banter can get pushed too far. And right, we are entering the territory of bullying or perpetration or even like microaggressions. It's not that extreme, right? So that's where a lot of disparagement humor comes from, or how a joke telling has gone too far comes from. Right? And we may all have experienced it, either like maybe we've heard something and we felt that discomfort in the body, or we've seen people brush it off as not that serious. And now this gets extended to language that's spoken to also like social media and other places where it's like illustrative humor. So memes, meme culture, and cyberbullying, etc., are all examples in which bantering is seen as you're expected to be funny or laugh. You're not supposed to be serious, but now it's pushed too far where it's not benign enough. That's where a lot of bystanders come in, right? If we are in a room where a joke teller and joke listener are experiencing social misalignment, where a joke hasn't been benign enough or it's been harmful, right? The power inequity creates a situation where who chooses to laugh and who doesn't can really impact the room. And that's where bystanders come from. Right? So are you joining in on a joke that's harmful? Are you reinforcing by laughing? Are you giving nonverbal consent by laughing? Or are you staying out of it by being silent, right? Or are you interrupting and redirecting by actually vocalizing against the joke teller? Right? But it's important that there is always a response to a joke. And as bystanders or as like the joke receiver, how you choose to respond to a joke. Are we joining in, staying silent, laughing along, forced laughter, free laughter, and interrupting? Okay. Now, using all of that, I want to kind of look at what really happens here in work relationships, um, even in work relationships at Drexel, in our labs, in our classrooms. It helps overall build trust cohesion, navigate hierarchy, manage conflict. Laughing together can signal inclusion and regulate emotion. There's also some interesting research on if you are horizontally aligned in power, you might laugh, joke together a lot. But if you're in a leadership role, a joke lands better when it is about you and not about you. You have less social sanction to joke about the group who has lesser power than you. But if you are here, you can joke about the culture of the working group more. In classrooms, humor can be used to absorb content better. And intelligent humor is content related rather than people related. And it increases the absorption power of learning difficult things. It makes it, it reduces any social pressure in performing in classrooms sometimes. And it also can harm learning sometimes if it is used in, again, identity-based jokes rather than course-related jokes or sarcasm, etc. So if you're in a teaching role, I think one thing to think about is my use of humor or jokes. Is it reducing threat around the material? Is it making it more absorbable, funny, and creative? Or is it like transferring the threat onto a person? Is it making anyone like sing it out? Similar even in leadership in organizations. Okay. So with this rather, I think, content-based talk today, right? What changes next week, Monday, like with this humor? How can we incorporate humor, ethical humor, more into our work culture? And I think a simple way to think of is three things. Like one is pausing before joke telling and evaluating whether we are punching up, down, across, inward. Pausing before reacting to a joke, that is joke laughing or silence or interruption, pausing and checking in on how the joke is moving through the room, through social power in this particular group. And two, once you've had your response, checking. Are we laughing with someone or are we laughing at someone? Also checking, am I noticing forced laughter in the room or required laughter in the room? And just notice that ethical humor is a dynamic process. We're not expecting ourselves to know what the good joke is and how to laugh and how not to, but it is this built-in practice of paying attention to the intentionality of humor and response. And two is checking how others are responding to it, especially if you're in a position of power. So yeah, are we laughing with someone, at someone, on someone, all of that? And three is that breathable afterlife that I spoke about, right? Always leave room, create a culture where there's room to reflect on a joke or humor, where there's room for anybody who experienced that embodied discomfort from a joke to call it out, to name it out, or circle back and say, that didn't land well for me. And normalizing that kind of correction, can we repair it? And normalizing naming the afterlife of a joke. Because a lot of times where humor becomes problematic is when you have the social pressure to not be the one to spoil the mood of the room. It's like, don't be a spoilsport. No, it's just a joke, laugh along. And that's where I think incorporating this breathable afterlife, where it's okay to be offended by a joke, comes in and makes it ethical to have humor in work relationships, close relationships. That's all. That was the content. Thank you for receiving it for the last, I think, half an hour or so. And now I simply want to open it up and make it conversational, some prompts, but I really would love to open it up and talk uh, whatever came to your mind. I'm going to start right now.
Maybe I'll start, even though I'm okay with silence. I'll break the silence here. First of all, this is probably the most comprehensive, content addressing a joke. I've never seen all the terms you use. I really appreciate it when I aligned it with the Johari window when you started with the four quadrants. That came to mind in terms of, I know some individuals may not be that familiar with the Johari window, but it's an instrument that's used to help understand relationships better between people. So I appreciate that alignment because people can always go and look the Johari window up too for impact. But I think because you're on the board of culture, climate, and belonging. So I appreciated how the end of the presentation talked about how we can align better, how we can seek belonging with the repair and normalizing correction. Because I think sometimes people are hesitant to do it. And I think you've kind of given people license, especially like faculty, if a student says something in class where only a few students find it funny, here's now the license to stop and say, I don't, what just happened, and explore that with the class and kind of normalize that we're not going to have those moments where we isolate others. So much more to say, but well done. Thank you.
How did you get interested in this topic?
Um, I so yeah, I want to acknowledge you, Dr. Carey. Thank you for that response and like how it was we can also incorporate it in our board. And Dr. Kamal, so I think it was honestly, I'm not coming into this presentation as someone who researches humor. That's for some of you to uptake, hopefully from this. I think for me, I use humor a lot to cope for relief. I come from a family where there's intergenerational humor. I think humor is like known as this identity. And I'm pretty surprised how my niece and nephew, who are so little, somehow have this pressure to be funny. And I'm like, where did this come from? Like, so I've been curious about it personally. And also, I'm into violence prevention research. And I see children, school bullying, all of that, where there's a lot of it was just a joke. And I think that was the trigger for me to dive into to nerd out on jokes and when is it not just a joke. I think there's more to this. I think there's like a lot more to, even if we take a thread of this in our own like research or experience to look at how can this become a model for like education, like healthy relationships or like sexuality education in schools or workplace harassment prevention. I think there's implications, but this presentation was my opportunity to delve into it.
Humor also has a huge connection with creativity. So comedians actually have brains that are very similar to very creative people because they are making connections between things you usually don't make connections with. So funny people are actually also really creative.
That makes sense. It's like that pattern identification and knowing how to disrupt that pattern. So you have to be really observant and creative and intelligent. Yeah, yeah. And it's born from social playfulness too. So yeah. Megan?
Yeah, thank you, Deepa. That was really, really interesting. And it made me think about these things in ways I hadn't before. I love to use humor, dark humor, right? I think it really bonds people, especially in a workplace. I think humor is really important. And then, you were making me think about some of the negative ways, right, in social or power dynamics that humor can be kind of weaponized. And it reminded me, I had this in graduate school. I had this like deeply problematic mentor who was a kind of a big power dynamic, weird situation in our lab, and he actually wound up getting fired for harassing and misconduct against all of his students. And it reminded me he used humor a lot. There was a lot of like inappropriate joking, and it was kind of a power tool of like if you're not laughing, um, you are kind of shunned from the group. So there was a lot of kind of pressure and weird pressure to laugh about things that we were not finding funny. And I never really thought about how, like, I never connected the dots of how that was used kind of harmfully in a workplace. And then it can be so positive in a workplace as well. It just depends on how it's being used and what context. So I thought that was really, really interesting.
Thank you. I think you're really speaking to the point there of that required laughter or you're punished. There's a cost to not laughing at some people's attempt. I think it's called humor utterances or humor attempts. Even I learned a lot of lingo around humor through this presentation, but there is a real cost to it. And it's almost like the starting point of a larger violation. It can be captured and intervened when you see that, like the humor level between power dynamics. Wow, it's so real.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to add, I think it's really interesting to consider joking up, like at a person or status with more status than oneself, how that can still be harmful. Because I think, at least in the identities where I have less power, I definitely use humor in that way. And I think that's a good reminder, where it can be empowering, but also it's got an edge, where perhaps you're perpetuating, some kinds of stereotypes or harms. So I appreciate that look, because I haven't thought about it. So thank you.
Yeah, it's making me think in ways that even I've not thought about it, Christian. So that's really cool. Yeah, like because the idea is that punching up is a cool thing, like you're breaking stereotypes in some ways, but you're also reinforcing the idea of the stereotype. Yeah, I think one of my favorite examples is I saw this somewhere. It's like poor people talk about how they saved money, and rich people talk about what they have, or something like that, like assets they own versus savings. And that's one way of like, it's not punching up and down, but it is your humor, like, is also surrounding, like, expressing social reality or power inequity in everyday ways. Yeah.
Deepa, thank you very much. I also kind of, when you were talking about activism, humor and activism, I was thinking a lot about late night shows and how much humor has played a role in our current um, situation that we are encountering now, and how dynamically problematic it can be, but empowering at the same time. Problematic for some people, but empowering for others at the same time. Because for me, like I enjoy watching it. It takes my mind off of the severity of the situation. It puts like a different spin on it. And it also sometimes highlights what's going on that we're not talking about. So humor has a way for me of really sharing these things in a palatable way, if that makes sense. Well, palatable for me. I'm imagining the people who the humor like is making fun of or not really appreciating it that much, which we all know. But just thinking about the role that it can play or the power that it has, because I think if we reflect on all the back and forth which has happened with the late night show hosts and the the humor, we can see how much humor impacts people either in a positive or negative way.
Absolutely. And I think now we have this shared collection of jokes and humor from what happens on the internet a lot, and we all respond to it. That becomes our inside jokes. Sharing memes has become a new way of feeling seen for people. You send it to very specific people, and when you get a reaction, it means something. You feel seen because you've made them laugh. And you also, in this late night show example, Kim, that's a really important one where it also shapes like socialization, right? Whether it's like gender socialization or other kinds of socializations, we're all consuming this information as a group. So it's really a form of influencing society.
I just want to add to Kim's point that I think it's interesting that there's attempts to silence comedians, and I think that that kind of shows you how powerful humor can be, which you were saying, but I was just thinking some more about the back and forth and everything you were speaking about, Kim, and I think it does demonstrate how powerful and important humor is. So, yeah.
I also want to add about like neurodivergence and humor. A lot of times, like that free laughter, forced, required, kind of also goes from like masking. I also experience sometimes, and also being like outsider in terms of culture. Sometimes I know I've like had forced laughter because others are laughing, even though I've not really understood what they're laughing about. So it's a side topic, but like a thought of how humor also shapes culture.
And Kristen just made me think of this example of a comedian from the African diaspora who was on a talk show, I think a podcast, and he was saying that when on oh, now I just had a block, Lion King, and he was saying when they're going blah, blah, I don't know what the words, right? And then he's saying, oh, they are saying, here comes the lion. Look at the lion. That's a big lion. And then they go da 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 da, and then he goes the lion. It was so believable, but it was incorrect. It was completely not accurate, but it was believable. But he said, I was couching it in a joke. And now Disney's suing him for $27 million because he has now discredited that portion of the play and movie, etc. So sometimes they're believable in their humor and you think it's accurate, and it's not. And he didn't mean it to be harmful, so he says. He was just saying, but being African, talking about that play and then saying what it means in a joking manner, people thought it was for real. And they've been writing in saying, is that what it says? So sometimes jokes, like Kristen's saying and Kim brought up, like they can sit with people and they can take it to be the gospel and it isn't. And people can be harmed a lot by people thinking, is that right? Is that how I should feel? Should I have laughed? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to the point of jokes and humor makes content very absorbable, like believable. So even if it's fabricated, it has a greater impact it's memorable to remember a joke or humor, something that was funny rather than when you say it really seriously. Well, I want to make one last point that I know we all use language a lot now to share and speak, but a lot of humor is like non-verbal. I think Charlie Chaplin is like one example of that, where across cultures, everybody's just through gestures can really laugh. I don't know why I felt like saying that, but I did. So on that note,